catch any of the Game Awards stuff last night whatsoever?
Nope, none. Haven't even looked.
Okay.
Didn't know if I should be blind or look it up.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess that'll be kind of fun because since you are blind, there's definitely a couple of key moments. I guess we could play a game that I didn't prepare. Would you believe that if I told you that Bill Clinton was trending last night with the Game Awards?
Yeah, but I've also watched him play a clip of looking at a balloon, so
that was pretty funny. Julie sent me that this morning. I missed that part. They announced the Game of the Awards winner, and then I was upstairs kind of working on the videos for Final Fantasy 16 and Blue Protocol. So I guess basically just as we kind of ease into this morning before we kind of go on our little, you having a little extended weekend. Why don't you tell everybody, like, when are you gonna be back? Is it Tuesday? You're gonna be back on stream? Wednesday. So Wednesday back on stream. This week been doing Final Fantasy 14. You finished the WoW expansion. You've been diving into the end game there, and you also, what level did you get into New World on the Twitch drop day?
47.
So you're
from 40. I went up 7 levels in one day.
That's great because that's also not accounting for all the revamped.
I went for the 7 level. I went up 7 levels, and I did a bunch of stuff with the winter stuff. So tried to kill some Yetis, collected a lot of presents.
So pick a kind of a topic just to kick it off first and foremost. Do you want to talk about Blue Protocol or Final Fantasy 16 for a little bit?
Let's do Blue Protocol first.
Okay.
Then 16. So, and then
we've been saying
time, I'd love to know thoughts on the Game Awards.
Yeah. So we've been. I think you were kind of even in agreement. I've been saying like, I think Amazon's going to be the publisher behind Blue Protocol.
Makes sense.
And that's exactly what it is. But as the internet goes, it's been some interesting reactions. A lot of people concerned by that, but I texted you like just from a level of excitement, going, who's got the money, the servers, the Twitch integration and drops? Because you see that with Lost Ark and New World, and I don't think they're done. I think
when you're developing it, they're publishing it, right?
Right.
Those are two different jobs.
Yeah. But that's still like just like with Lost Ark, that you have them as a primary publisher, which has like all of a sudden comes along with all these things that they're working on.
Because like Square Enix as a publisher believes that NFTs have a major role in the future of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Creative Business Unit 3, led by Naoki Yoshida, believes that no form of NFT or crypto belongs in gaming. And so when you ask, will it be in Final Fantasy 14? It is not, is it being published by Square Enix? It's, what does the developer say?
Yeah.
And so like, they're just two separate things. Sometimes they fly under the same banner, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. As a matter of fact, like Blizzard has had like Activision really helped them with kind of the publishing portion of things, is my understanding how that agreement really strengthened them. And when they work in like China, Tencent was who helped them with that portion, kind of as a publisher over there.
Yeah.
So like being the publishing arm, there's a lot of advantages to a new MMO, like to a lot of people, and a franchise that a lot of people won't have even. There will be a lot of people who are like, I don't even know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of advantages to a company that has proven the servers will run. We don't know what you guys are doing in the game, but if it runs, we got you.
And if you need more of them, they're there. They're right there. We just click print.
Yep.
So essentially, now the frustration, because there's been people who are confused by that because they like, oh, I heard bad things about New World or whatever, or I don't like Amazon as a company. Like all these things, like I can understand those points. But the one that was actually interesting that I think is actually the most fair is people feel like this means that it won't be in the SEA region because we don't have New World in the SEA region. My thought is on this one, it's being published, in Japan by Bandai Namco. It's being published in Korea by Smilegate. It's being published in China by, I think Tencent is the one who got the contract. Like
sense.
They've got those areas locked down. And so I guess essentially there are options for players, I guess. I'm assuming in that area, but this is just my maybe geographical ignorance overall. So it's like I've seen some people frustrated that they won't be able to play global. Somebody said, stop calling it the global version. Without SEA, it's not truly global. And it's like, well, it represents like a good good chunk of the world outside of Japan. So
how many time zones do you have? That's the question, right? Like, so when you say global, so my wife worked at a company for a while that called themselves a global firm because they operate anywhere around the world, and they had offices in, I think, like 18 or 20 of the time zones.
yeah,
And so their idea was that we are a firm that never sleeps, but that doesn't mean that they're represented in every single country or every major
right.
geographic city, but that their impact is better described on a global scale than on any one country.
Yeah, I think that's how it falls into me. So we're looking at North, South America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. I'm probably missing a couple of areas, but you basically, when you think about where New World is at, that's where Blue Protocol is at. Where you think where Lost Ark is at, that's where, like, this is their
Right.
infrastructure. This is
Right.
their setup. So it's like, yep, I think that's going to be really good to go. I think overall with the fact now we'll also like see like drops. The same team that runs Lost Ark and New World, which is great because it's like I've been able to kind of like talk with them a lot about different games and things like that. So they already know who we are. Like I was like, oh, cool. I've already been following this game for 3 years now. So it's really nice to be like, hey, here we go. And that also means from a like their website, their forums, and their reporting, like I think they're just getting better and better and better. And that's one of the things like why I talked about it. Like I just wanted to talk about like yesterday. I was like, I don't think they're done being a publisher. And I think if you're coming out with an MMO, if nothing else, Amazon's probably knocking at your door. And so we know there's a bunch of other MMOs that are slated for 2023 that it's a high pop. I would say even more so now. It's a high probability that they might be the publisher. They might really try to like put themselves in that space, and to the point where like it's kind of like when I've seen people complain about Amazon on Amazon services, like to the point where it's like, yeah, you could complain about an Amazon game while you're playing another Amazon game. Like that's, I think, essentially their strategy is that they're just going to have like within the space of online RPGs that they're going to have some kind of, I guess footprint.
Yeah, I think the world is more complex. Like it's nice to say a simple solution to things, but in reality, the world generally needs complex solutions to complex problems.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's kind of where we're at. And that's not a bad thing. That means that we've gotten a lot of the simple things out of the way. So it's time to work on the complex solutions. And those can be incredibly important. They can impact a large number of people in a small way or a small number of people in a large way and can still be very important. But when people say like, I don't want to give that company my money, which is usually how they want to send that message, which is fair. Voting with our money is a very effective thing.
Yeah.
It's very hard to be a purist about that, right? And so it's like somebody who says they want like no added sugar in their diet. You're still going to have glucose in your diet. It's just a question of like, okay, how hard are you working to make sure that there's not just like straight up refined sugar? So you're trimming sodas, you're trimming sweet tea, you're trimming these things, but when somebody offers you a strawberry, you're still eating it. Because it's very hard to literally not have a sugar in your diet because sugar's in everything. So if you don't want to support Amazon game studios, I get it. But if you don't want to, like when they're acting as the game dev, right? If that's the stand you make, if you don't want to order things off Amazon or if you don't want to watch things on Twitch, like I get that, but Amazon Web Services hosts like, I think it's last I saw was roughly a third of the internet. So you can't navigate a Google search without accidentally seeing Amazon links. There's no way to do that effectively. It'll be the same with publishers. And so like, if you don't like Microsoft, that's fine. But like, you still know that like most products you work with, the people that worked on them were working on Microsoft servers or were working on Microsoft machines or were working on Microsoft Office or right. And so you just know that some of these companies are so big and so pervasive that you just need to decide like, well, how far am I taking my stand? Because like Xbox fans need to know that there's Sony components inside an Xbox, and Sony fans need to know that Xbox owns titles that are exclusive to PlayStation. Like there's weird stuff. And so it just gets really hard. It gets really hard to make that line super, super pure. And so just say, like, well, I try my hardest not to support companies over the size, or work with companies with the following record in whatever category is important to me. And that's okay. But like, to come out and just say like, well, I never give insert X name here money at all. I mostly just have questions like, how are you doing that? Because I, like, my wife and I sometimes occasionally shop at Whole Foods. Like, it's really hard to not, and that would be really easy to forget that, oh yeah, Whole Foods is owned by Amazon. Like, it would just be really like the grocery store that is near the Greek place we like. And so if we go to the Greek place we like, and we need like some yogurt or something for breakfast, we run into Whole Foods and we get yogurt, and they have a great selection and it's reasonably priced.
Not sponsored.
It's great. Their prices,
I think their prices came down. Yeah.
They went way down. We didn't used to shop there because it was like $100 a bag. If you get to the front and they're putting your stuff in 2 brown paper bags, that's $200. We could not shop there. And since Amazon took over, it's like, oh, well, that's actually cheaper than the other grocery store we shop at. Like every once in a while. So it's their meat's still really expensive. Chill out, guys.
I think that's just across the board right now, dude. Like,
it is, but Whole Foods, you're like, okay, like it was already crazy. What the heck is this price?
We eat a lot of eggs in this house, and like literally, like it was like our the cost of eggs, like I think quadrupled. I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess here's eggs for the kids, because they like, and I have one kid that doesn't like eggs, and I'm just like, all right, you're my favorite right now, because
I love eggs. I love eggs. Yeah, that's something that can't eat dairy. Like, that's where aiolis come from. So that's how you get like dressings and sauces and creaminess. So like eggs are, if suddenly I was not allowed to have eggs, life gets a lot harder as somebody that doesn't do dairy.
Speaking of dairy, now I don't have a really like a pivot, because you were talking about Microsoft. Diablo 4 got its release date announced at the Game Awards. June
season or release date?
Release date. So June. Gosh, why am I drawing a blank? It's like June 4th or something like that. It's in June. It's the early part of June. We also got. We'll talk about 16 here in a second. But also
4 of 24.
2023. Diablo 4 is June. Like, it's the early part of June. You could pre-order it today. You're ready to go.
What kind of WoW mount do I get if I order?
I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me what kind of WoW mount you get. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Ronan. 6/6, 2023. So June the 6th. I know. I was like,
that's clever.
I felt wrong about the 4th.
You've already made people feel like I can't let my kids play that because there's a demon on the cover.
Yeah,
that's clever. At this point, it's a bummer that it's not like 6/6/26.
It's not 3 or more years.
Not
also, they also reveal they're doing a collab with Halsey, so it's just like what we saw with Endwalker, where they're teaming up and doing some music. So that was kind of premiered last night. I thought that was pretty cool. Also, in the same day, I believe FTC announced they're planning to sue Microsoft to block the Activision Blizzard deal, and now I think we're seeing I think with Phil Spencer dropping some pretty big words. They've been on a PR blitz as of late. So all in all, I don't know if we're going to be playing Diablo 4 on Game Pass. But regardless, I'm very excited having played
has some teeth. They've proven they can do this.
I think a lot of this really stemmed from.
I think people look at like Elon Musk saying stuff that made the SEC mad, and then he gets charged like fines that were like smaller than the amount of money he made. And so be like, well, that's dumb. FTC, I'm pretty sure the people that fined Facebook like $5 billion, they've proven they can slap people around. So like, you can say whatever you want, but if they say no, I don't really know where you go from there. Like, I think you're done.
Well, it goes to court, and so like ultimately, and that means so in this case, well, they could still win, but it just means that they've.
I'm not a lawyer, but so I'm understanding. Yeah. So like, I understand.
I was talking with Hogue about this.
Okay, so consolidation of an industry is a concerning thing for the consumer as a generalized trend. But when people say that it needs to be like, one of the articles threw around the word monopoly, and so maybe it's just that the article wasn't written by a lawyer. But when I hear monopoly, I think of like kind of that like 65% market share single person. And so when somebody is told they can't move up into what would be third place, it feels like I don't know the exact solution to the math problem, but I feel like if you say there are 3 companies and one is the third biggest, what is the most market share it can hold? It's something less than 33%, because 2 people have to be bigger. So 2 people have to be holding larger percentages. And so it feels like a weird line to draw. So like, I don't really know. I don't know. Like, I don't know why it's a problem. And so like, if you talked about it with Hogue, then I need to go watch that. Because
we
like,
briefly
I
talked
just
about it,
literally like not do I like it? Do I not like it? Just literally like, I don't know why we would have a regulation against it.
You can, I got good news regarding that. Like, you can actually just listen to the MP3 audio. But if you check out the,
where can I get MP3 audios of podcasts that you make?
Wherever they are found. We're everywhere, baby. So
we're gonna get better at these segues. Speaking of dairy.
But anyway, so it's gonna be basically, he kind of says that this will go to court, and so because Microsoft has the right to defend themselves and take it to court. This is just them saying, hey, we're gonna pursue, but which kind of builds off of what we saw in the UK. So they kind of gave them kind of the courage to go ahead and review this, and so this means it could take another couple of years for this deal to go through. And yeah, like at the end of the day, like I don't care.
But Disney could buy it tomorrow, and if Sony bought it, step one would be we're no longer releasing on Xbox because the developer expense, and we really worry about developer hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Like Sony has proven they are more than capable of being anti-competitive,
and that's where Microsoft's like, Sony. The only way that Sony has made the argument that the only way the PlayStation can grow is for Xbox to go away.
It was like when Epic was like, we shouldn't have marketplaces dictating the commission rates for gaming companies, and we're like, well, what would be different? And it's like, well, we think it'd be better if we were setting the commission rates for gaming companies. Right. Elon Musk's like, I don't think that Twitter should be filtered by somebody else, and then he takes over and starts filtering. They're like, he's a hypocrite. No, go back and listen to his words.
Somebody else.
He doesn't think somebody else. He was never against him being the filter.
Yeah.
That was never a problem. He
I
said,
have the best of attention.
Strangers should be filtering. I'm no stranger. I like me.
I know who I am. I'll go talk to the guy in the mirror. What are you doing, Elon? All right. Let's transition into Final Fantasy 16. Also got its announced release date as June 22nd. So we've got 2 weeks from Diablo 4 to Final Fantasy 16, and has confirmed its PS5 exclusivity through the end of 2023. So they say that this game will not come to any other platforms, at least until January 1st, 2024. At least that's, who knows? I don't know if Sony will have an option to extend that exclusivity if it's selling well for them. But they released the Revenge trailer. I think this is really, really cool to see. Kind of gives more hints into the story, shows off a little bit more of the combat, and Yoshi P was able to present at the Game Awards. Also, Final Fantasy 14 won 2 Game Awards last night. Best ongoing game and best community support game, in which they didn't plug the Square Enix Final Fantasy 14 Discord. They plugged the Reddit Discord, I think by accident. So I saw Fusion and some of them tweeting out, like, I guess, congratulations. It's so sorry. So they just promoted the, which is great.
Reddit is the largest Final Fantasy 14 community in the world.
Yeah.
Like in one place that is not the game, it's the largest. So like it's massive. It's like, I don't know, 500,000 members or something stupid. It's crazy. To not be an official place, it's big. It's still nowhere near the size of what I believe Wowhead reaches as a technically not like first party thing, even though it has a very strong relationship with Blizzard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a snafu, but like there's worse ones they could have made.
Yeah. There's definitely worse ones.
There's other 14 Discords they could have plugged. And all of them are fans of everything. Because it's Reddit and there's no hate or disinformation allowed on the internet. And so like Reddit is the highest and best use of that. I love Reddit, but my wife calls that time doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling. Reddit's such a
I'm gonna scroll this until my day is worse.
Now,
so if I'm having a good time, I'm not done scrolling.
Now, chat was asking about if the Hogue Law one. No, that's on Epic Loot. So we have 2 podcasts, Crystal Core and Epic Loot. I'm currently toying around with the idea of making a Blue Protocol like focused podcast, but we will see. I get kind of crazy. I also want to make a comedy podcast. And
to finish shouting out how wonderful the Reddit community is for 14, just be aware that they are the amazing people that provide the translations, not just to live letters, but like interviews that are done spoken and don't end up with a translation anywhere. If they believe that there is not a reasonable access to important information regarding Final Fantasy XIV, they provide that for free to the world at large in English, which as an English speaker, I find utterly incredible. I really like, as much as I like to kind of mock Reddit as a platform as a whole, the 14 Reddit community does an amazing service to Final Fantasy XIV players. Just to finish plugging that.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
The Game Awards plugged it. Chris has plugged it. So if you guys aren't a part of that community, if nothing else, like even if you don't want to get involved in posting,
I have a command.
Lots of
two commands. I think
probably
it's !Reddit and !Translate.
There you go.
!Reddit takes you right to, nope, that's theirs. That's ours. Translate. There it is.
There we go.
There it is.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Discord.
The bigger winner. The bigger winner. They showed off a little bit more Mario last night, but the Mario movie, not like a new Mario game. Game Awards. Big takeaways. I'd like to hear your prediction if you haven't seen who already won. Who do you think? Who are the big winners for the big AAA games?
I think Elden Ring shattered what a game can do beyond its own genre. Mm-hmm. And so if it didn't take Game of the Year, I think the other games there were seen as really good games in their space. It went well beyond its space. And so when you want to talk about a Game of the Year, in my mind, it needs to be transformative beyond any reasonable expectation. And I don't see how any game embodies that more than Elden Ring. That's who I predicted yesterday. We talked about this before I ended the show.
Yeah, you'd be correct. Elden Ring,
okay.
Game of the Year. It actually won like Best RPG of the Year as well. And a few other, it took home at least, I think, 3 awards last night. Yeah, the other big winner, obviously, God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, very well received. I just didn't think it was Game of the Year. Like, it was in nominee for Game of the Year. I was like, I just don't think it beats Elden Ring. Like, not because it's not a great game and people haven't talked very highly of it, but like Elden Ring was ridiculous what it has done.
Did you predict which game would be the best upcoming game? Like the most anticipated game?
I didn't think that Harry Potter had it because of their public controversies. So I think it was between Final Fantasy 16 and Zelda. Yeah. And chat was like, it's got to be 16. And I was like, I think you're wildly underestimating the Zelda fandom. The question is, did Zelda activate voters? Because there was some anger about, like, I guess what Genshin kind of did, but like this idea of like promoting, go vote. And so I think Final Fantasy 16 would probably take it, in my opinion, but I think total interest in the game. I understand that Final Fantasy 16 fans have a lot of interest in their individual hearts, but I think the number of hearts is nowhere near what Zelda will do. Remember, Zelda Breath of the Wild outsold the Switch at the time. There were more copies of the game in circulation than consoles to play it. So like, so I believe it's probably actually the most anticipated, but 16 would take the category.
So you would be correct. In fact, when they announced the nominees, my wife looked at the screen and she said, Zelda, of course.
Yeah.
Zelda, like, of course. Like,
Zelda's the only game that my family members that don't play games have called me about.
Yeah.
Hey, when's that new Zelda game coming out? Why do you think I would know? Well, you like cover Nintendo for a living, don't you?
Exclusively Nintendo for a living.
Like not even like a little bit.
I shared my revenue. I shared the
I don't
5
even
cents.
know how somebody does.
They gave me a penny back, and I gave them 4 cents off every video of Nintendo that I ever made.
No. They're like, oh, well, do you know? No. So then I'm Googling it, and then I'm reading them things from Google, and they're like, wow, I really appreciate you having an answer. I just typed into Google. Like I didn't. They're like, there's like a Breath of the Wild 2 mod for Breath of the Wild. And so then I'm like off Googling that. And it's a GitHub project because the community's like, well, if they're not going to make Breath of the Wild quickly, we'll make it. So if you jailbreak your Switch, there's like a whole rabbit hole you can dive down, which I'm sure Nintendo's not a fan of. But
oh yeah,
the internet has done it.
And if they could find a way to send everyone a cease and desist, they would. It just comes in with your video game manual. Stop what you're doing. We know you're doing something with your Switch you shouldn't be doing.
There's a new piece of paper in these boxes. What's this? Oh, stop and desist.
They got me.
That being said, I'll buy the hell out of that Zelda game. Like I like what Nintendo does.
Yeah.
I'm eating at their restaurant while the chef comes out and yells at me. Like, do you like that part? No. Have you complained? I put a bad review on Yelp once, but I just keep eating here. Like, I don't, it's just part of it.
I've even subscribed to their, they had an optional subscription thing. I went ahead and subscribed. I haven't unsubscribed. I haven't even logged in and played online on the subscription, but I just keep it active. But they suck, but I just keep giving them money.
My wife and I have 2 people in this house and no kids, and we own 2 Switches. There's no logical reason for that.
Chat's asking about the ballpark for Final Fantasy 16's Collector's Edition. I believe those are coming in at $100. So they have $70 for the PS5 and $100 for the Collector's Edition. And now
does it come with that map?
I don't know, dude.
If I don't get that physical map, I don't know why people.
I'm a sucker for maps too. Like
that map in particular was like map gold. Go Google that map. Unbelievable. Cool. Good for 16.
All right. Now let's kind of shift into kind of the main topic itself.
Hold on. Did Vampire Survivors win best like brand new indie, brand new whatever?
I don't know.
Wasn't new title.
I might have missed that one.
Studio.
I might have missed that one. That
was the other one I was following. That like I just think that a developer that was like, wouldn't it be cool if one day I sold like 50,000 copies or something? Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah. So what if you sold 1 million in your first 25 days? And they're like,
what?
And they're like, yeah. So your check is in the mail for $3 million or whatever. And he's like, this is like a side hustle. Like, I don't know what to do with this. It was a life-changing. I don't know the exact details, but like, it's a very heartwarming, and I hope Dwarf Fortress has the exact same thing. They're at like 160,000 copies sold in the first like 24 or 48 hours, and their goal was 160,000 copies. So they're doing it.
And chat says Stray is the one who won that category.
Okay, I just wondered. I'm just really happy for the Vampire Survivors guys, and they just seem to be really like that. I guess it's now a team because it's really exploded. So
chat says your hair's getting long.
It is getting long. I don't wear it down on stream that often, but it is. It's getting long, and like I don't do anything to put curls in it. And my wife has straight hair, and like every Dr. Seuss book, everybody with straight hair wants curly hair, and everybody with curly hair wants straight. So she's always like, well, if you would do these things after you got out of the shower, it would like really let the curls relax, and it would get less frizzy, and it would be this really luxurious. And I don't do any of that. And like. So people are like, well, what product do you put in? And I was like, the stuff in the bottle in the shower. Like, I don't like, there's not a plan here. And I don't know. They're big, luxurious locks.
Well, good for you. I'm growing out my beard right now. We'll see if I get annoyed with it. I put it out in the video. People seem to respond.
A lot of gray. It was like, there's 1. Oh, there's 7. Oh, I don't know how to count that. I get a lot of gray in the beard. And it started with red. Because my family's gingers.
Yeah.
And so it started with red in the beard, and I was like, oh no, what if I just have like a flaming beard and brown hair? Like, is that a thing that people do? But I didn't start doing that young enough. And so now it's like, well, that was all the pigment we had. So we're going white.
So
she doesn't like us having the same length hair. So the longer mine's getting, the shorter hers is getting. So hers started down here and then went to here. And then now is up here. And so I assume that if mine hits the length that I would like it to hit where I stop, my wife is in a pixie. Which is fun.
Stay tuned.
She's like, well, I'm going to cut it really short. And I was like,
it's fun to kind of watch and scroll through the shorts here on the channel, because it's like you literally like see your hair growing out, or you see your hair getting shorter. Like, it's like, well, it's one way or the other. So just, if you guys haven't been paying attention to the shorts, we've been posting those. And so we appreciate you guys. Also, I think there's a new React.
Other clues. I'm also looking sad and old as it ages on.
There's there's a React button over on Twitch now that kind of I guess helping to highlight, certain parts of the streams and stuff like that. So thank you guys for clipping and reacting and hanging out, and for the likes as well. But let's shift our focus to 2023, because 2023 I think is going to be an interesting year. We already talked about a handful of games that are scheduled. We started this podcast off with Blue Protocol. The 2023 release window, for the global Amazon published deal here, is that there's going to be a beta in the spring, and the game's going to release in fall 2023. It is releasing in Japan in 2023, so there could be a natural trailing of content to what is out, you know, from the developer to when does it finally come to the global edition, a la Lost Ark, but not in a 3-year kind of trajectory like it was last time. But I think 2023 is going to be interesting, you know, an interesting year for MMOs. Other handful of games that are slated for 2023. You got Throne of Liberty, and you know, like that's another one that they say they're targeting.
Ashes. Ashes is not slated for 2023. Ashes is slated for next year. And the funny thing about the phrase next year is when we roll over into 2023.
Next year.
But it will one day release. I do believe that. I legitimately believe it will one day release. I just believe that it will release as a partially featured beta and then take like Fortnite levels of time to make it to completion. Because really Fortnite double dipped for a long time. They're like, did we do something well? Did you give us an award? Because we're kind of amazing. Did we do something poorly? Oh, it's a beta. It's a beta. It was like, I felt like they were in beta forever. They could still be in beta for all I know. Like Fortnite just is one of those games. They're like, it's season 28 of beta. Like, it's like, what are you guys doing?
I don't see that, at least from like I was listening to a Narc video yesterday.
Excellent.
Where he was talking about how like the community's now frustrated at
Ashes. That's in my watch list. Yeah. That's in my watch list.
I haven't finished it. I was just kind of listening to it while I was working. And like
he's preposterous.
Oh yeah, but I think that's the hook, right? Like
do you guys have a friend that you like? Hey, when we go out drinking, be sure you invite so and so because they're ridiculous.
Yeah, in a fun way.
In a fun way.
In a fun way. Yeah, you're not gonna ruin your night.
He like showed up in flip flops and dress socks and was like, "What up, boys?" I don't know. This is about to get crazy.
You got the voice. You've been listening to a lot of Narc.
Oh yeah.
No, but it was like talking about how they
talking about why he's wrong, but like I like him.
Oh yeah, like at its core,
I disagree strongly.
Major whiff. Like
please keep uploading.
Yeah, please don't stop uploading. I listened to his video and I was like, this is
hang on your every word and then disagree with all of them.
And disagree because like he said something and it was talking about like even if it takes another 10 years, like people want a game made by passionate devs, and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's not alone. I've heard other people make those kind of points, and I'm just like, I think if the game is great, people are going to look back and say that was the secret sauce. But if the game fails, I don't know where you fall back to. I don't know, like if the game struggles, if the game isn't good, if the game doesn't deliver on everything that you thought it could. Like,
you have a friend that's a passionate baker, but you can't choke down one of their muffins, they're not going to be successful. I know that passion is the fun ingredient to talk about. It's the heartwarming story on the nightly news. But it's not what determines a game's success. And plenty of games fail with passion. And plenty of games with passion, plenty of games are successful with what feels like a lack of passion. It just doesn't, it's not the best predictor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. It's not. Like, can you release content on time? Well, I just wasn't feeling passionate today. I needed a day. Well, then you're not going to do well in the MMO space. Like you have to have content. You have to have content. Look at all the people who said they were not going to play WoW. And I'm not talking like, oh, just generic statistics. Go look at people who uploaded public videos to the internet saying, I'm not playing Dragonflight. And then go look at what directory their Twitch channel is in right now. Like, content wins. Content wins.
Always wins.
Content always wins.
There's people who have their individual, like, you know, thing,
wins.
But it's like, gosh,
it's not everybody, but
it's a black hole, man.
It's not a zero number, and it's not like there are people who had very strong reasons not to play, who are like, well, I mean, if everybody else is playing it, yeah. I guess I could.
Well, and that's another aspect of the social kind of like within a hype cycle, like outside of hype. The real question is right, but
there were tons of people who said they'd never play this weeb game,
and then they're like, oh,
and then they're like, oh, I'm playing it. Content wins.
Yeah,
and good content on time.
Yeah, and like during a hype cycle, it really just it draws a lot of people in. That's why I'm always interested in what happens after the hype. What is it when everything kind of calms down and plays? And that's why one of the things I've often really been like respectful of somebody, like just when somebody comes in and it's like a 0.3 patch. You know, like we know the 0.3 patch. We have the live letter date announced for the 26th, 23rd of December. And
they did move it up. Well, good for Haps.
Yeah.
I said they're not moving it up. It's the 30th. Because the 30th is 11 days before. That's the right number of days before. But Haps said they're not going to do it that close to New Year's. They're going to move it up to the 23rd.
Yeah. Well, you end up having like within the Christmas to the New Year's, like it's hard to get people during that week because it's very quiet, very slow. So like even in development, I've always been like, why are we here? Like, why isn't this just like a week off? Because it's like, can you do anything? No. Like, because the guy I need is on vacation, doesn't come back until January, you know? So it's like, it's always been a weird month. And I had a boss, dude. And I was like, stop trying to have go lives on the first, the 2nd of January, set it for the 15th, like, please. But every time you do this, like, we're all just like, we're barely surviving because it's like, even the people we need on their end aren't at work. So it's like, how's it coming? It's not. You're paying everybody overtime to not be successful. So please, just 2 weeks after 2 weeks. But we will see with in 2023, 14's got 3 big patches pretty much on slate and FanFest. That's going to be big. Soulframe, people are assuming that Soulframe is going to be launching 2023. Like when I was looking up the article, just to kind of like think about all the games out there. I was like, gosh, like they just put a lot of names on here, like Ashes of Creations on there for 2023. I just don't see that happening. RJH2.
I believe that it could release with partial features in 2023. I do believe that's possible.
I think that goes against what Narc thinks that is one of the key
differences. But they have said over and over, it's going to launch full featured, ready to go, day one, with no bugs and no server issues. Which anybody who's a fan of games that are older than 10 years old, I have somebody over on Gaming Kinda that has gone nuts and has left a comment on every single video I think I've ever published within the last 24 hours. And so my app comment feed is just their name telling me over and over. And yesterday it was a different person doing the exact same thing. So maybe they just have 2 accounts.
That's our bot.
Oh, no. It's not the same comment.
Oh,
they're
okay.
ripping each video. And so person number 1.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. I like engaging. So I'm talking. But person number 1 had some disagreements with a statement I made, and then let me know that statement was wrong in varying ways over each video. Person number 2 told me that all of these 10-year MMOs that I play are worse than Embers Adrift. Embers Adrift released in October
this year.
Like, how are you? So, like, I don't know anything about it, but I can tell you there's no way I can confidently, without looking it up, say there's no way a game that released in October. And he's like, yeah, they don't even have like a cash shop, and they do weekly updates. And it's like, okay, well, get back to me in 10 years. Like, even if everything you're saying is true, like it's been like 60 days. Like, you can't be like
Embers has the weirdest strategy. They're not doing any marketing.
So you gotta kick that out a little, because so like to say Ashes is going to be able to do all these things that people who are 10 years old haven't done. I mean, you would embarrass an entire industry. So I'm rooting for you, but for you to come in and say, we're going to out server Amazon. We're going to out publish Activision. We're going to out community support Square Enix. Okay. But like, they have a lot of people who are very good at their jobs with decades of experience and a lot bigger budget. I understand 43 million is a lot for one person to be basically supporting, because Steven's pouring his money in wherever the community support stopped. And so he's pouring massive chunks of money in for an individual, but it is nothing compared to what an organization can raise. Square Enix can throw some serious money at a problem.
Well, they also have like value, like in the company itself. They've got IP that has performed. And so like, if you're looking at the value rating for the brand Final Fantasy Tactics, not Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy Tactics is like I couldn't even calculate it, but it was like I was reading up on it. It's like, yeah, it's worth like $150 million for that Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, if somebody wanted to buy that, like it, and that's assuming Square Enix would want to sell, which they wouldn't. But it's like, that's just that IP alone.
It's just two different things,
right? When you start to look at the evaluation of a company, like Square Enix has IP, they have product, they have value.
So I believe Ashes could release, but I believe it'll be. In 2023,
you think
I believe it'll be more comparable to something like Ember Adrift or like New World. I know that like Narc particularly is talks about like new, like kind of rips on New World, but like I think that New World and Ashes will have a lot in common in like how many features release, what it looks like on release, what the first year looks like. Because for all the people who don't like Ashes, the whole first year was constant, relentless bug fixes, content additions at no additional cost to the consumer. So to say you don't want Ashes to do that, why? It sounds awesome. Like I don't know why you would want any game not to have constant support from the community to fix, like they have constant dev support to fix any bug they come across. They have constant new content rolling into the game, and they're not charging anybody any money for it. Like I don't know why, what part of that is bad. So like way to go. New World, like way to run your first year in what is almost like what feels like altruism. Because like I don't see how it benefits them. That's what I've asked you. I was like, how does this benefit the devs? Because they do all this work, and the only way they get paid is if a new player joins. They're not getting any additional money from veteran players.
You get, they do have a cash shop in New World, and so like to kind of bring.
But I don't have to participate in that to get 1 point to get Brimstone.
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't. There's no. The game does not. The game does not present you another way to give them money out of necessity. It's literally out of altruism of the players that are having fun. And right now, who knows? We'll see what if how that evolves. The one thing that New World will struggle with, that will piss you off at some point, is that and because it's the relationship will change. If they add in a battle pass, that battle pass wasn't baked into the idea of cost down the road. Now, ultimately, it might not frustrate you personally, but it's usually when you see a game have an established, like if you had a subscription-based game that goes free to play, or a free to play game that all of a sudden now has pay to win. Like it's like, hey, this was all good. We already defined the relationship. I was willing to be good on these terms. You've changed the terms. Now I'm going to have to reevaluate this relationship to see if it actually makes sense. Does that, like that? I've seen you make that argument, and I actually back it up 100% because in a monetization,
you've changed the relationship.
Especially
so let me
when it comes
see if
to
I
money.
Still want it. Right. Somebody says, hey, we should move in together. That's a reevaluate moment. Right. Yeah. Because you're changing it at a fundamental level. And so you need to decide, okay, if that's how we have to move forward, I don't know if I want to move forward or I don't. I don't know if I do or I don't, but I need to stop and think about it.
Yeah.
And then I don't have a problem with battle pass games. Right. Like Call of Duty is a battle pass game. I just don't buy the battle pass. It's fine.
Here's what I would say.
Halo came out with the battle pass and didn't come out with content. And that made me mad. Asking me for money when you have yet to deliver on your end, that made me angry. So like the battle pass on its own is not a flawed monetization concept.
It can be
adding it later seems hard.
It's going to be interesting because if all of a sudden things that players were getting for free that were now is kind of like there's that wall. There's going to be, no matter what, there's going to be friction. I think with Amazon as their first game, you'll see them having a lot of friction, regardless, but that's just going to be the nature. They've proven they can invite players back, and I think that's just going to be how it continues to evolve from there. Embers is interesting because for anybody who says they don't like cash ops and battle passes, etc., there's no cash op. It's a subscription. It's only like $10 a month, and it's a box buy to play game. So it's kind of like, in my mind, it's a put up or shut up. If you like the old school sandbox style, hard as nails MMORPG where the monetization isn't, if you're frustrated monetization, there's an option for you. The question is that will we see it survive, long enough that it develops that, especially because I don't see them marketing the game at all. In fact, they follow me on Twitter because I haven't seen any other content creators talking about them. And I've been actually posting up their videos of the patch notes because I find it fascinating. Here's Chris. Here's the thing. This is my funny story about Embers, because it literally took me back to my Final Fantasy 11 days, where it's like I was doing something in Final Fantasy 11 and I had no idea that it was wrong. And it was that in Final Fantasy 11, I had no idea why people wanted me as a warrior to take the hits. I was like, I don't want to get hit by the mob. Yeah. And so here in Ashes, I was like, oh, you rest by these ember rings. So they have these little fire pits that are called ember rings, and they heal. Yeah, really nice. It's really convenient, but they're not everywhere. And so I kept fighting. I'd have some food on me and have a potion, and then I'd get too weak, and then I'd run back to the ember ring. Turns out I can just slash sit out in the open field and heal up just fine. So I was like, how is everybody leveling up way faster? I was like, this is taking me a long time. I'd go fight 2 enemies, run back to the ring, sit down, run back out, fight 2 enemies. Oh God, I got aggro from a thief. okay, got to run back. And it was like this constant, like, okay, I'm just inching up. And
Tethered
I'm like, yeah.
to it, yep.
And then I was like, oh, turns out I can just sit down and heal. I was like, okay.
So, as far as Battle Pass being added,
yeah,
my understanding is that ESO added ESO Plus later. Like they had a rebrand and they added a subscription, not an optional Battle Pass. Yeah. They added a subscription.
They did.
That when I talk to ESO players, say if you're gonna play the game seriously, it's mandatory. So like, how was that received? Because that's what New World would run into if they added a Battle Pass. It's the same fallout. So like that's your test study to look back at within modern MMOs. What happens if you change the game? Now, Destiny changed the game like every 8 months. Don't look at them because they don't know what's happening either. Look at ESO, because that's somebody who made like a paradigm shift and has stuck with it.
I think it actually was received poorly, but then with their model of content coming out every year, the content washes over frustration. Because new things to do. Right. And because content is king. And then the fact is that every year, like clockwork, new ESO expansion. So it's like, it gets to the point where you're like, oh yeah, if that did frustrate you, had you leave back in the day, at some point it's like, oh man, like I do want to play the third I haven't played 3 expansions worth. I can jump in and I can start playing and have a really good time. Do you think we're going to see Pantheon Rise of the Fallen here in 2023, or is that just another Ashes that's going to kick out to 2024?
That one looks further out.
Well, the thing is, that
one looks further out than Ashes. So unless they're just keeping it close to the vest, that one looks further out. It looks more. They've been showing, when they show something, it looks like they're showing tech demos. Mm-hmm. People get really mad at like tech demos because they want to compare them to actual gameplay, which is why you don't release those. It's why Grand Theft Auto was so against that leak, because then people go, looks like the trash, and it's like, yeah, it looks like a game that's in development. Why do you think they didn't freaking release this footage? Like it's not magic, you know? Like you're building like a birdhouse for your daughter for her birthday, and then she like busts into the garage when you have all the parts laid out and goes, doesn't even look like a birdhouse. It's like, then runs out, and you're like, because it's not like I'm not done.
Yeah, Arcade 2 is targeting 2024 clearly in that regards, and it's funny that it's on a list here, 2023 MMOs. Oh, looking for content. I think overall, when you start to think of kind of the big ones, I think Blue Protocol and Throne of Liberty are on lock for 2023.
7.0 make it into 2023?
2023? No way. 7.0? Not a chance.
So, but people ask, and I heard people speculating it would.
No. Anybody who's saying that it's coming, 7.0 is coming in 2023 is setting who's ever believing them up for kind of a world for hurt. And then PSO2 getting new zones and updates. I need to get caught back up on PS2. PSO2, I keep it up to date. Like I every time there's an update on Xbox and Steam, it's always like, yep, prioritize this update. I want to jump back in, and I have yet to. Maybe I'll get to spend some time with it over the holidays. So I'm going to see here.
I just want to toss 14 in there in case it was showing up on one of those lists. Because with JP FanFest, not until 2024.
Right. There's no way they're launching.
There's no way they're launching and then having a fan fest. So,
and to answer Distinct's comment, do people still complain about cash shops MTX when it existed back in the 360 days? Yes, and they are adults, and they speak about it like they are not adults, and it's such an interesting and difficult conversation to have because we've been playing we've been playing this Hot Wheels racing game that we have on Xbox with the kids. Absolutely freaking love it. But it keeps asking them to spend money because it's like, hey, you could open these loot boxes that have these cars and the kids are having fun. And I'm just like, no. Can I just buy all the cars? Can I, in-game currency? That's fine. I don't care. But it's like, oh, there's all this, like, let me just buy all the stuff, not individually, like buy them one at a time. And then that's the only downside. So it is a game that we play together as a family, and they're not playing to get by on their own. Because I was like, they're just, oh yeah, Dad, we can just buy that. Like, no. That's how they get you, kids. We've already bought the game. Like we could talk about getting all of this, but I'll buy it as a bundle. I'm not going to sit here and spend 99 cents on all these little virtual Hot Wheels, but we're having fun with it. But yeah, like a lot, that's where it gets concerning. I think parents definitely need to be aware of how these games are monetizing the kids. But outside of that, like it does, as a content creator, I see it all the time. People will come in and it's like, oh, I can't believe that they're charging for this cosmetic. I remember back in the day when games were 5 minutes and you got them like every 2 years. It's just like they remember the past way more fondly, and they forget that arcades existed before all of this. There was only a small window in which these companies could not monetize us in another way. And that in and of itself, people lock as like this pure form of video games. When before it was like you paid a quarter or more by the life, and then as soon as the internet was like, hey, okay, we figured out how we could bring the arcade into the home. And then it's like people kind of remember like there was 5 years where like they didn't, or I bought the game and there was never anything else I could spend money on in that game.
No, they have been trying to make money at the business of making games in every way that is possible. Once it became possible to accept money digitally and trade for goods distributed digitally, they moved to that immediately. Immediately.
Yeah.
Lo-Fi Girls getting a whole Rocket League patch and skin. They're also, I heard, we're pressing records. It's awesome to see Lo-Fi Girl on YouTube just having immense success. If you guys want some chill music to listen to in the day, go listen to Lo-Fi Girl. If any sponsors want to pay us to talk about the things we already like, feel free. But if you don't, we might just have to still tell people that we like you anyway. So we don't really have a lot of bargaining room here. But yeah. I would like to be paid for the things I'm already recommending. But yeah, Lo-Fi Girl's amazing. Lo-Fi Girl's amazing.
Chris, you're going to be back on stream this coming Wednesday. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up today's live show?
We're publishing still to Gaming Kinda, I believe, while I'm gone. And so like I've published Moogle Tombstone event, I think is the next video going live. And that's going to break down all 10 of the Moogle Tombstone events that will have ever happened and look at the patterns. There's some things about this Moogle Tombstone event that are unique, but a lot of them are actually repeats. I can also tell you right now that the next Moogle Tombstone event, I believe, will be April 24th, and it will be the Hunt for Mendacity, and that will be going into patch 6.4, which will be May 23rd, and that means that would be announced mid-April. And so that is when we would go into the Hunt for Mendacity, which we can start to predict what is in it. So by looking at those 10, it was like a nice spreadsheet nerd breakdown, and we had a lot of fun making it. So that's it.
I mean, all right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this Friday morning, covering Game Awards, Blue Protocol, talking about the future of MMORPGs. We will be back with you guys next Wednesday for our next live show. So thanks so much. We hope that you guys have a fantastic weekend. I'll be live over on Twitch tonight if you want to come by and hang out. Should be a good fun time as we continue our adventures into New World. Also played a little Destiny this last Wednesday on stream as well, which is really a lot of fun. So got a lot of getting caught up on season 19 too. So thanks guys so much for being here with us today. Hopefully we'll see you in the next live stream and or video highlight, etc. But until then, take care. I'm gonna hit and broadcast, and it's gonna spin itself out, and we'll just